If you don't have many friends, you've probably heard a version of yourself described to you. Maybe over dinner, maybe by a partner trying to be kind, maybe by your own internal voice at 1 a.m. That you're introverted, too sensitive, picky, guarded, bad at small talk, the one who thinks too much. Some of that might be true, probably is. But I've spent a long time thinking about people like you, and I don't think that's what actually happened. I think while everyone else was busy collecting people, you were quietly building something else, something most adults never develop because they never had to. And nobody told you what it was, because nobody else could see it. So let me show it to you, in layers, because what you built only makes sense when you see the whole shape of it. Here's the surface version, the one you've probably accepted by now. You're introverted, you recharge alone, crowds drain you. You'd rather have 2 real people in your life than 20 acquaintances who know your job title and nothing else. None of that is wrong, it's just incomplete. Because those are traits, and traits, well, traits are static. They sit there, defining you, like labels on a jar. They describe who you are. But almost nobody asks people like you a different question. What did you build? Traits describe who you are. Skills describe what you can do. And when you spend years, real years, without the constant social input most people use to regulate themselves, you don't just stay the same person with fewer friends. You become someone who grew capacities other people never needed to grow. The story you've been told is about what you lack. I want to tell you the story of what you built, and honestly, it goes deeper than you think. Here's the part of you that doesn't get named, because the people around you don't have a word for it either. While other people were learning to read rooms, you were learning something quieter, and, honestly, a much harder. You were learning to read yourself. Most people, when something's off inside them, don't know it until someone else points it out. They need a friend to say, "You seem stressed," before they realize they're stressed. They need an external mirror to see their own face. You don't, not in the same way. You can wake up from a dream and feel the residue of it. Not vaguely, but located. Just under the sternum. A weight that has a shape. You can tell, by 8 a.m., before the kettle's even done, that your mood has tilted, something the day hasn't earned yet. You can notice the exact moment a sentence someone said 3 days ago is still working on you, quietly, in the background, like a tab you forgot to close. That's not a quirk, that's a skill. A real one. There's a name for this. Interoception. And therapists spend months trying to help their clients find what you already do without thinking about it. You learned it by accident, because you had to. When there's no one around to reflect you back to yourself, you become your own mirror. And here's where it gets quieter, because once you can read yourself, you don't stop at reading. Something else starts to move underneath it. Once you can read yourself, you start to regulate yourself. Most adults, and I mean most, never get here. They don't process their feelings. They discharge them onto other people. They call a friend when something's wrong. They need someone to talk them down, talk them up, talk them through. That's not a flaw. Honestly, it's how humans were designed. We're co-regulating creatures. The whole nervous system evolved to need other nervous systems. But you became something rarer. You learned to sit on the kitchen floor at midnight, back against the cabinet, and let the thing move through you. No call, no text, just you and the wave. Until the wave was done, you learned to talk yourself out of spirals at 3 a.m. with no one to hear it. You learned to be your own calm, your own, not borrowed, not waiting on the right phone call. There's a kind of intelligence that grows in you when no one's around to hold you steady. Not better. I want to be careful here. Not better, but different and rare. And there's a shadow side that nobody mentions, so let me mention it. Sometimes you don't know when you actually need someone. You're so used to handling it yourself that asking feels foreign, almost embarrassing, like a language you forgot how to speak. Sometimes you carry things alone that you didn't have to, and by the time you realize it, the moment to ask has already passed. But the gift side? You're steady in a way most people aren't. When the room falls apart, something in you stays oriented. It doesn't argue with the chaos, it just holds. That kind of steadiness. Most adults spend years in therapy trying to find a fraction of it. You grew it the long way, without knowing what you were growing. And there's one more thing growing underneath this, the one nobody explains to you, because most people never get close enough to it to see it. When you can read yourself, and you can regulate yourself, something else emerges, almost as a side effect. You start to see what other people miss. You can tell, within 10 minutes of meeting someone, whether they're real or whether they're performing. You feel the half-second pause before someone says they're fine. You can sense when a friendship is about to shift, when someone's about to leave a job, when two people in a room who used to be okay aren't anymore, before anyone says a word. Well, people call this intuition. It's not really. It's pattern recognition, built on years of careful internal observation. It just doesn't look like work, because the work happened in private. Here's why you have this, and most people don't. Most lives are loud, constant input, group chats pinging at 9 p.m., work friends, weekend plans, family dinners that don't stop. All of that creates noise, and the noise crowds out the subtle signals. You spent years without that noise, so you started picking up signal, the shift in someone's tone, the thing they didn't say, the micro-expression that lasts a quarter of a second. Your years of fewer voices gave you a signal-to-noise ratio most people will never achieve. What looks like loneliness from the outside is resolution from the inside. Higher resolution, fewer voices, sharper signal. Now, stay with me here, because everything I just walked you through, interoception, self-regulation, pattern recognition, it's not three things. Sit with that for a second. It's not three things. They aren't separate. They're not items on a list. They're one thing, showing up in different shapes. What you actually built, quietly, over all these years, without anyone noticing, including you, is an internal ecosystem. You became your own environment. Most people are weather. They change with the room. Who texted them? Who didn't? Who's mad? Who's happy? Their inner state is just a reaction to whatever's pressing on them from the outside. You became climate. Climate doesn't argue with weather. It just keeps being what it is. You generate your own internal conditions. You have an inside that doesn't need an outside to exist. And that, not introversion, not sensitivity, not pickiness. That is what having few friends actually built in you. Most people are weather. They change with the room. You became climate. The room changes around you. This isn't a victory speech, and it's not a wound either. It's just a more honest description of what actually happened to you. You weren't broken by the silence. You were shaped by it. And what got shaped has a name no one ever gave you. The question isn't whether you have this. You do. The question is what you'll do with it now that you can finally see it. Because once you know your climate, not weather, you stop apologizing for the quiet you carry, and you start noticing what it's actually for. One question before you go, not whether this resonated. That part's obvious, if it did. But this, what's one thing your inner climate handles now that used to require someone else? Drop it in the comments. I read them. The ones from people who've actually lived this tend to say things I've never heard anyone say out loud. That's the conversation I'm here for. If something in this video named what you've been carrying without words, do one small thing. Tap the like. Not for me. It's how this kind of quieter work finds the other people who needed to hear it. There aren't many of us making videos like this, and the algorithm only shows it to them if you tell it to. And if this is the first time you've found me, this is the kind of work I make. Quiet videos about the things most people never name about themselves. If that's the kind of company you want in your feed, subscribing is how you stay.